Hi, I'm Riley from Crowley Flower Farm. I am the head designer here, and I'm here to answer some questions for you guys. So what is a farmer florist? Well, that's my job. You know, I'm just like a lovely little farmer florist, but pretty much what it is I not only get to do the designing aspect of the job, the floristry, the designing, the coming up with like the weddings and all the beautiful things you see, but we also grow everything pretty much that I'm using. So I'm a fully year-round design team here, where you have to start at the beginning, from starting the seeds to putting them in the ground, to nurturing them to growth, to harvesting them, to finally put them in your bouquet. That's what a farmer florist is, and it's not an easy job. Most people in the industry usually pick one or the other. They're either a grower or they're a florist, but for some reason we decided to be a little crazy and do both. So it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but I will say that it is probably one of the most rewarding parts of my life, is getting to start something from the very beginning and see the final product at the end, and getting to use it and say that it is, you know, like part of me. And that's kind of why people ask like why flowers are so expensive, like when I could go to the grocery store and get a bouquet for $5 or whatever, but you don't know quite where that's coming from, right? You don't know what the process is, who did that, what kind of chemicals are on it, what the people that grew it, like what are like the backgrounds, I don't know, like all that kind of stuff. You don't know, but I know exactly where your flowers from your bouquet came from, and they came from my backyard. And I grew them from the very beginning. So that's why typically locally grown flowers are more expensive. But I feel like there's a lot more care put into them, and I think it's a lot more special knowing that you're not only supporting a local business, but a community and the local economy, and it really goes further than just having flowers on your table or flowers on your wedding. How long have I been designing, or how long have I been a designer? Well, I feel like I've been doing it my whole life, but if I had to break it down, my mom started designing and doing the business when I was about 12 years old, and she needed helpers. So she would drag me and my friends, Emma and some other girls, around to put all these events together, to doing weddings. And a big part of my like childhood and like memory is getting together with all of her sisters and putting weddings together in a old meat locker cooler at my Aunt Sarah's house, and we would all be working in there and listening to music and talking and designing, and just this really good atmosphere we had together, and I remember just loving it. But full time I started back in, I want to say it was 2018, I think, is when I decided this was something I really wanted to do, and 2019 was the year that I really started fully working. So, and since then I've pretty much been head designer here at Crowley House. So, you know, I got a few years under my belt of experience, but obviously not everybody like learns the same way. A lot of mine is just from like being in the field, but I did have some training when I decided like that this is like what I wanted to do, and I told my mom like I really am enthusiastic about this, I love this, like this seems right to me. We signed up for a course with Ponderosa and Time, which fantastic designer. She does amazing work, she does amazing teaching. I will say, like, as a teacher she's phenomenal. And I did a week expert course, which as at the time I believe I was how old was I was maybe like 21, 22, and everybody else in this class had a lot of years ahead of me and has had businesses and were established. And when they asked my mom like, can she do this course, like does she have experience, does she know how to do this and this, and she's like, oh yeah, it's no problem. But I went in and like with the expectation that I was going to have to prove myself that I was a designer, because I was the youngest here. Most of them were like in their 30s and fully knew everything, and I was just this little girl going into this class But, you know, I went in and I showed them that I am 100% a designer, and I really approved myself there, and it was really fun. I learned a lot about how to use color properly, and I feel like that was probably like the most helpful for me in the design field, was thinking, okay, well, color in nature never makes mistakes, right? So nature will naturally put colors that coincide together, and whether that's looking at a flower, like a single flower petal, and you can break down all the different shades that are in there, like say like the middle is this yellow and then it hues out into a peach, and then there's pinks at the end, and then what's the shade of green, like really taking inspiration from nature. And you, once you realize like that and have that thought in your head, you really look around and you're like, oh, like it's true, like nature doesn't make mistakes. Like you could think like looking at a cactus, like a cactus that is like bright green, and maybe like the thorns are like a bright yellow, like a butter yellow, and then the flowers are like a fuchsia, and you think like, hey, there's no way those colors would go together, but actually they like are perfectly made to do that. So I think that's pretty cool. Another thing I learned is to holding space in your arrangements. One thing that Katie taught me was to imagine a butterfly should be able to fly through your arrangement and land on all the petals. So making sure that you're thinking that the air and the space between the flowers are part of the design, and it's not just the florals, it's the shape, and you have to really think through like what way are my elements going, and like if a branch is like branching off one direction, then like you have to follow that shape in order to create a piece of art. Really, it's art. I'm an artist. Hi, how's it going? Other things that I do on the farm, especially during like our slower seasons, as we call it, it's not really slow, we're always busy, but we call it the slow season because that's when we don't have weddings. So January, February, I'm usually helping do anything and everything on the farm. I'm really just like that grunt worker where they need me to be. So whether that's planting, starting, watering, cleaning up beds, and calling brides, making sure I'm taking orders. There's always like random orders that come in during those times, so I'm literally always on call. Yeah, so it's always busy. There's always something that I need to do every single day. I might not be as long as hours as I do in the summertime, but there's no shortage of amount of work, which is good because I love it. I love my job. I love working. It's always a good time. Things I enjoy the most about my job probably are the satisfaction of it. I think it's so like rewarding to get to like plant something and then you watch it grow and you get to go cut it and then you get to use it and you create something beautiful out of something that's already beautiful, and getting to give it to someone and make their day like 1,000 times better. I love doing weddings. I love creating like brides' visions, and just how creative can I get with it, because you know you can only have so many white weddings, and you know like everybody wants a white wedding or everybody wants a blush wedding, but how can I make their white wedding or their blush wedding different to every other wedding that I've done? And that part is really fun for me and something I like deeply enjoy. The creative side, like making something special for an individual, not just creating something that everybody gets. And I think that here at Crowley House we really specialize and pride ourselves in creating something for an individual, not just something for the everyday person. Like if you contact us for your wedding, like we create something for you and that's special for like you and your partner that is going to represent you. And I think that's really special and fun for us and something we really care about. And I think it really shows in our brides and in our weddings. Yeah, I really love that part of my job. I love just the creating and seeing the final product. Some of my favorite flowers, I will say I'm definitely like a spring girl. which I don't know if that's because like my birthday's in April, so I just am gravitated towards spring. But I think that like spring is my favorite time of year because it's the time for new beginnings and everything's growing again and everything's green and like, oh, you're coming out of this like deep dark pit of despair out of like January and February, and like you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and everything on the farm is just beautiful and like starting to bloom and like pop off, you know. Like my favorite time is the first flush, which is like when everything blooms for the first time. And I gotta say, when you're on the farm during that time, it is absolutely magical. And the flowers, we have the roses, you have the ranunculus, you have daffodils, tulips, like everything is just like going crazy, and it's still green because here like in our summertime everything dies. Like it gets so dry here, but it's still green and lush and just stunning. And you really get to see Mother Nature just like pop off. And also it's showing everything that you labored in those like months of winter really paid off. You're seeing all the seeds you planted, you're seeing the bulbs that you put in the ground and all that labor you put into it come up and become this beautiful, stunning thing that you're like, oh, it was worth it. All that labor and like back pain was like 100% worth it. And I loved the flowers during that time. So like ranunculus, sweet peas, tulips, daffodils, roses, peonies, like anything really growing during the spring is my favorite. I think because it's so delicate, you really can create these beautiful like arrangements and bouquets that are just like little jewels of creating jewelry almost that the bride gets to have. It's not just like a bouquet where in the end of summer when you have like dahlias and zinnias, you have a lot of larger head flowers at the end of summer, which are beautiful too, and I love creating with them. But something about those dainty little petals and like it's just so ruffly and pretty, and it feels very princessy in a way, and I really enjoy the romance of it. It's just, they're stunning and they're my favorite. Are weddings stressful? I would say if you're not on top of it, it can be. And I've had many a time where I messed up or forgot something or read something wrong and it was stressful, but like, you know, you learn from your mistakes and you're like, I'm never gonna do that again because I didn't like how that felt. I've had times where it's not even like my fault necessarily, but there was like a miscommunication between a planner and a bride and me, and like information didn't get back and they're missing a bouquet, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what? I just spent 2 hours on an install, like I can't even think about that right now. But you have to be like professional. So like it can be, but also when you're on top of it, if you're double checking everything that you need to get, if you're on time, if you're getting there early, you're setting up, have all the proper equipment, then it's goes smoothly. You know, you have the plan, you stick to the plan, you triple check the plan, and you do it. Then it's without a hitch. But you know, you're always gonna have that wedding where something goes amiss. Like every year we do. At least now, you know, at the beginning we definitely had weddings where we forgot completely that the wedding was that day and that the bride was picking up in like a few hours, you know? Stuff like that happens, and I think it's easy to be really hard on yourself and be like, I'm the worst. But know that like literally everyone makes mistakes and it's normal. It's part of the learning process and you just get better every year. I feel like that's definitely true for us, is every year it gets easier and easier and you kind of pick up the process of like what you're gonna do. But you know, other than that, I don't find them necessarily stressful. There are some weeks where say I like have 3 or 4 weddings a week and it could be really easy to get them all mixed up and like what's going where and did I get this done. But again, just staying really organized, and I always try to get one project done at a time, and that's how I know like that wedding's done, I can set that aside. That's what makes it easier for me. Depending on like the wedding, it takes a lot of time. Like I usually start my weddings either on Tuesday or Wednesday, doing like picking up florals, cutting florals, getting vases ready, all of the like prep work. There's so much time consuming to that. And like you think of like bud vases, like most brides are like, oh well, they're cheap and easy, but like honestly they take way more time. I had a wedding where I don't even know, a couple hundred bud vases for this wedding, and it took me at least 2 days just to finish the bud vases. Like, that's not even doing bouquets and all the personal stuff. It's just doing table arrangements. So it definitely takes like a lot of time and a lot of time management. I tell my friends in the summer, like, I'm not gonna see you until like October, so it was nice knowing you. But I mean, obviously take time for yourself when it's necessary, but like, it is a lot of work and you have to love the work, or else it's just gonna be tiring. You generally have to love the job in order to do the job, because if you didn't, like, it would just seem exhausting. I would admit that 100%. There are days where I'm like, the last thing I want to do is another wedding, or I'm feeling really like burnt out with like designing. So when I get to that point, or at least I try not to, like, I allow myself to do something, you know, like, say maybe there's like a time in the week where I have free time. I would go and like spend a day by myself on the coast or something like that. Besides weddings, I do a lot of other events. I do a lot of corporate, I do baby showers, bridal showers, anything small that you can imagine. I do dinner parties, I do like literally anything that you could think of flowers. I mean, I also do like day of arrangements where you're like delivering for like an anniversary or Mother's Day, Valentine's Day. I do prom stuff, you know, like corsages and boutonnieres, like really anything that you could imagine a florist does, I do. I will say that weddings are like they're my bread and butter, if you would say. They make the most amount of money, but I love doing all the little things too. I would say for the year, the weddings bring in a 3-figure income for the farm during the year. I hope I made that right. I do the design part, you know, I'm the part that people are paying for, but I don't pay attention to the numbers. What do I like to do for fun? We could talk a bit about myself, because you gotta do, you know, work-life balance. That's something I hear that the cool kids are doing these days. And but for fun, I'll tell you guys, I'll be honest, I am a big introvert. So being by myself is fun, which my job, I'm mostly by myself. But things like reading, I love going to the gym, I love traveling, I try to go somewhere every year, and I do hang out with friends sometimes. But yeah, just even like gardening, I really like veg gardening. I'm an avid reader, so like this last year I read like 82 books, I think. I'm trying to like slow it down a little bit, but with the reading. Yeah, I love going to the gym. I love staying active, that kind of stuff. I also love cooking. Cooking is really fun. I love my cats. Yeah, I'm really into cooking, really into like cookbooks, experimenting with different things. Do I have an off season? I could if I wanted to. Like, if I really wanted to. I've done it in the past where I've taken like 2 months off during January, February. Like, saved up money throughout the summer and took 2 months off. I went to Australia, just doing some like exploring, but it's not necessary. It's just like if maybe I wanted to. But I would say like our off season's probably January, February, but like that's not really like true. You're like planting and prepping and you're doing all of the like pre-work so that you can have a successful year once like the harvest season comes. So there's always something happening. What does my schedule look like? Well, during a busy time, should we do like a week schedule? Should I do that part? So my day looks like I wake up, either go to the gym, probably go to the gym really early in the morning, come home, coffee, breakfast, and then take a quick shower, come out or get dressed, obviously, I don't want to get dressed, come out here, and I look at what I have to do that day, whether that's like weddings, prepping, going to market, whatever it is, and I set that up and I turn on music and I'm in here all day. I never have a tan during the summertime. It's so sad. If I wanted to tan, like typically like Mom and Keith and whoever, like they're working outside all day. So they're like golden brown and beautiful, and I'm like a pasty pale gremlin in the studio. But it is what it is. And then I usually am like working, probably depending on how much I have to do until like 6, 7, sometimes 8 o'clock. And then I eat dinner, go to bed. Obviously, like there's other things mixed into the group. But yeah, that's typically like my schedule. Something that's really exciting in this coming year that's new for us is we're starting a lot of like online things. So we have like our CSA, we have we don't have them anymore, but we had like our dried flower bundles. We sold bulbs and chromes and all that kind of stuff, seeds, anything you can imagine really we've been selling. So that's been really fun. But one thing, like if you're wanting to support Crowley House and ways to support the farm, is to check that out, see what we have for sale. We have our CSA coming out, which if you don't know what a CSA is, it's community supported agriculture. Typically it's done with like veg farms. We have a lot of friends with veg farms who do this, but we're doing it with flowers, which is fun. And you don't have to just be here in our community. You can be anywhere in the United States, because we are shipping, which is super fun, but pretty much means you're going to get seasonal, locally grown flowers from us shipped to your front door. We have them out by season, so right now we have our spring CSA, but you can also sign up for our summer, fall, and winter ones now. But you'll get fresh bouquets twice a month to your front door, and I just think that's really cool because I get to make it. You're gonna get something directly from me. How special are you? But yeah, they're gonna be beautiful. They're gonna be all like gorgeous blooms, and what's really fun about it is it's seasonal, so it's exactly what's growing on our farm that time of year, and you know where they're coming from, and they're going to be gorgeous because obviously. If you sign up now, you also will be added to a bi-weekly or weekly, we haven't decided quite yet, email list, which will give you insights to what's going on the farm, kind of what are we doing and all the fun things that are happening, kind of get to know us a little better. And it's kind of special. We like it. We're excited to build this community even more. You guys are such a great support to us already, and we love getting to talk to you guys. So we thought what better way than having a little email, a little message from us every week or by week, we'll find out. Yeah, so that's my job, that's my life. If you guys have any other questions for me, you can leave them down below, and don't forget to subscribe. That's another way you guys can support us, is to like, subscribe, comment, do all the fun little things. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed getting to know me, getting to know your designer on the farm. And I hope great success with all you do and grow, and we'll see you in the next video.